this year.
Students brought in soil and water samples from the area to see if any of the samples contain phages that target tuberculosis. Biology teacher Megan Lane has partnered with Tech for over 14 years to help collect and test the samples. Lane says the project is a great opportunity for students to apply the science work they're doing in the classroom to a project that will be used by actual researchers. She says hopefully the process inspires them.
And just that idea that students are discovering something for the very first time. I mean, we live in a world where it seems like there's not a lot left that's maybe new. So to tell students that they'll be the first ones ever to discover this phage, that'll be new to science, that they get to name it, becomes its scientific name, that's pretty mind-blowing.
It's awesome. That's what drives us for this program. You know, I mean, we love doing the research, of course, but we feel that the future of science is in these positions for these students. And it's shown that if we can bring these experiences to these students in this setting, it drives them forward.
Lane students have found over 17 new phages since the partnership began. And let's turn things over now to Curtis.
Hey. And I've done that program too, and we just found a phage. Now we're on our own. We're not like, we're still with Montana Tech, but the grant's gone.
Introducing Grammarly, like you've never seen before.
Sorry, just a second.
Your all-in-one writing essential. Writing a strong paper.
And we just found a phage this year, and it's called Fritz. So a little 7th grader found it. Okay, so in the chat, or you could unmute, tell us what science and engineering practices you think were going on in the phage program.
I'll read it for you. We've got planning and carrying out investigations, analyzing and interpreting data, constructing explanations, and designing solutions.
Very good. Does anyone want to unmute if you don't have the chat? Are there any others that you could add? There's one that I would add.
I think I would add asking questions and defining problems.
You too.
They're trying to solve a way to defeat tuberculosis. Yeah.
When I first learned about NGSS, that was the hardest one. That science and engineering practice, the asking questions, was the hardest one for me to teach and figure out how to teach and get students to. And it's a super fun one. So like, I think I'm better at it now. I was really good at asking questions, but to get them to ask questions, you know, like I could ask them questions, but so. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. And I have some examples of some of the science and engineering, like how I implement the science and engineering practices. And like I said, we need to be teaching these specific ones too, in addition to the disciplinary core ideas, like the actual content. We need to also be teaching these skills, design lessons that focus on and showcase and have students practice these skills. So in chemistry, the way that we do modeling is with molecular models, and they have to figure those out and determine what the bond angles are going to be in the structures and how that affects their function. And then I also have them do open-ended labs. This is where they get to make decisions and design the experiment. And I have like for example, tomorrow we're doing a lab on single replacement reactions, like we're doing this lab, but then they get to design it and make the decisions and determine which variables need to be controlled and what their control group is and all of that. And so those are really, really important, and those help them planning and carrying out investigations, analyzing data. It puts them in the driver's seat too, in terms of how to do science. And then also graphing data. We literally graph data all the time, and I always feel like we're not doing it enough. Like, I don't think we can possibly do enough of the data analysis and interpreting data. I think that's a super important skills on the computer and handwritten. Do it as often as you can in so many different ways. For anatomy, I do case studies a lot. So we learn about people and their stories and how their structure is disrupted through a disorder or disease, and then how that results in the function being disrupted. They also make models. We do like the chalk, like writing with the chalk markers on desks. Love that, and the clay and all of those. And And then they also do investigations in labs and things like that. And then biology, we also have like they conduct research on different topics. We do the pinwheel discussions. I don't know why I have investigations twice, but and then also graphing, tons of graphing all the time, every class. I also, if we go to the next slide, I have another thing that I started doing this year, and this is kind of separate from like the 3 dimensions of NGSS, but it's part of NGSS. So NGSS talks a lot about using phenomena, which are like cool things that kids are going to be into, that it's going to make them wonder and want to figure out, that kind of centers the content. That's what a phenomena is compared, or in terms like in NGSS. It's like using something cool to hook students, giving them an on-ramp. So I've been using them in AP Biology this year, and I do it like super quick. I just put them in my note slides, but I just sprinkle them throughout the unit, and these little focus stories just keep coming up, and I kind of give them a little bit more information each time. And it's kind of like, you know, like Paul Harvey's The Rest of the Story, kind of like that. And you have to like tell the story, like you have to uncover it slowly for them. So one that they loved was, do you remember the Tylenol murders with the cyanide? And that's like why they put the foil on pill bottles now. So I think 7 people died. Yeah, it's in that picture. So I like did this focus story. I wove it through all the notes. And this was for, oh my gosh, unit 3 is what? I don't know. Cell energetics. So this affected cell respiration in the people's cells. But it was cyanide, but I walked them through, like I presented this first lady, Paula, and then the next, you know, the couple days later, I told them, okay, then this other person died at the same time in the same area. A couple days later, I told them about this other person, and I kind of unraveled the story for them. And then they had to figure out what caused it. So eventually I showed them what was the cyanide, and it was affecting the cell's ability to make ATP through cell respiration. We learned it as we were learning cell respiration. So they were trying to figure out, what does this have to do with cell respiration, and kind of unwrapping it as we go. For one unit, I did the discovery of Alzheimer's, which was really fun, and like protein folding. So I did that for that unit. And then for cell signaling, I did anaphylaxis. And then for the like cell biology unit, I did newly discovered organelles, because they're discovering new organelles all the time. Did you know that? Like the ones we teach are not all the ones there are. There's new organelles that we didn't know existed that they discover like every year. And the kids think that's wild. So that's how I use phenomena. It's kind of a new thing I've been doing the last couple of years. And it works really well if you use people's stories. Like if you can find somebody and focus on their story, or a group of people, they love that. Kids love stories, right? So that's how I use NGSS. And I've been talking a lot. So if we go to the next slide, do you guys have any questions, or do you want to talk and chat about what you're thinking? So unmute, tell me what you think. Maybe that's the next slide, or we can do questions and then whatever. I don't know.
I thought it was cute when you were talking. I think it was Monica that wrote, it just popped up since I don't see the whole chat. Oh, like storylines?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I've seen those too, but like I prefer to make my own, because like you get more into it if you make your own, you know. So
Okay.
no questions.
No questions. So now I'm going to kind of force it out of you. So, because that's what I do. So if you don't have a chat, please just unmute yourself and share. But something interesting you learned, or that you're interested in, or something you'd like to know more about from what we've just talked about. I know it's 4 o'clock. Everybody needs an espresso. It's almost 5, actually.
Or you can unmute. I know you have your mouse on the mic button and you want to unclick it and talk. Do it.
Great information. I really want to learn to add more Indian Ed for All in my lessons, but with your phenomenon, which I do that also, and pull things for kids. And I've used is it Wonder of Science?
Yeah.
From, Paul Anderson.
Paul Anderson, yeah.
Yep. But then I also added in what I tried, last year with storylines, and I did these storylines with my biology students, and it was really great. Hands-on, leading them and having them discuss and doing all the things that you were talking about. So I included that in the chat.
Thank
Very
you.
nice. I like these little focus stories because they're super quick. They take, like, they didn't really add anything to my curriculum because I don't have time to add a lot. Okay, somebody else talk.
We had some fun this week where I think that the focus stories are really neat because students are getting into things they're interested in, and then it really helps them understand structure and function better. This week we had presentations about nutrients and nutrient deficiencies, but they kind of studied, and I hadn't done it before, they kind of just chose, like some kids chose like calcium, magnesium, quercetin, and then pretty much collagen. So I asked them to think of things they're hearing about in the media that keep telling them, oh, you should buy this, you should be taking tons of collagen, you should be. And so in our cell unit, I had them apply it to their cell models and then show us where in the cell is this happening and how is it causing a problem. And so they did a really neat job on it, and it was things that they were definitely interested in themselves. So yeah, I would like to do more focus studies like Linda's, where you present them with something and let them talk about it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
Yeah, I wish I did pinwheels when I was in school. But I
They're
didn't.
so fun. I wish I did too.
I put in the chat that I also just have the kids graph and collect data as much as possible. And this year we've been making what I call tempestries, which the kids use different colored yarn to represent ranges of temperature. So we've been weaving like little tempestries, like tapestries of the temperatures every day at the same time, and then comparing it to the 10-year averages each month. And this has been as we all know, craziest weather in Montana. And to be able to have them look at it and look at their yarn and see, like, we were at, -2 last week and we're at 51 today. And to see that visual and interpret that is just nuts. I had no idea it was gonna do that. And it's such great conversation.
That is really cool.
I would love to see pictures of those tapestries too. That sounds
What a
really
cool
neat.
name,
Well,
too.
if I present this summer, you will see those, Michelle.
Okay. Yeah. So I was going to ask real quick. It came to mind, Connie. Does that have them grasp the difference between climate and weather? If you look at 10 years go, because I know that was a hard thing for my students to gather.
Yeah, because I'm 5th grade, so that is a really hard one. So we've really just focused on it's weather, and not really talked about climate too much as of yet. We're going to go more into that in this part of this quarter, but really just focusing on its weather.
Very cool.
Okay, so I apologize. It's already 5 o'clock, so I'm going to this call to action, and would like you to think of an activity, or if this is also in your survey, but I want you to really put some thought into this to share with us. So please, if I could just get it by end of workday Friday, you can email me. I would just like, it gives me some insight too, and everybody else here some insight into what you do in your classrooms. And then This is also, I believe, in the survey at the end, but in the next 5 months, because we're only going to go through May, we won't go through the summer. What is there something that you would be comfortable presenting on for the rest of us? I really like to see us in this safe environment build each other up. And then my email's there, and I think it's also being put in the chat. And this is the survey. If you would please fill it out. It's not very long. It won't take you very long. I think the link went in the chat, but there's also the QR code there. And I see that some people weren't here at the very beginning. So the attendance component was to put your name and your school and to ask what your expectations were for this meeting in the chat. So if you did not get a chance to do that, if you could do that, I'd appreciate it. That also gives me insight. Was everybody able to get onto the survey? I don't want to move the QR code if you still need it. Okay. These are just some upcoming opportunities because they're all accepting proposals to present right now. The Montana Environmental Education Association, their annual conference is at the end of March, and they're accepting proposals. The Indian Ed for All Best Practices Conference is like the weekend or the 2 days following. The Montana Environmental Ed is in Missoula. The Indian Ed Best Practices is in Helena. And those two are back to back in March. And then moving all the way forward to the very beginning of August is the Montana Summer Institute, but they are also in the process of collecting proposals for presentations. I wanted to double check with Jackie or Eva. Are the accepting proposals closed for the OPI Summer Institute? I couldn't remember if it had to be in by today or if it was this week or.
They're due tomorrow. They close tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow. So that one I did.
You want me to drop that link, Michelle?
That would be wonderful if you can get it.
Okay, I'll drop it real fast.
And in the email I sent you, you should have access to all of these. I know that Eva's been really good at putting the links in the chat for you, but also there should all be in the session packet that's available through my Google Drive. If there's anything you need or you didn't get or anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I'll hang out here a little bit in case anybody has any questions. Thank you for putting that in, Eva.
Michelle, I was wondering, is one of our goals to get to how we turn all of our standards into a proficiency-based system?
It is to be very knowledgeable on proficiency-based learning, because everything that we do is based on that, right? I mean, all of our assessments, everything. So it would just, and I think that it's a hard, I don't think at the district level it's really addressed a lot.
Yeah, and I know our school wants to go to full proficiency-based learning, and I was, because the state is moving towards full proficiency-based learning, and I was kind of curious what that looks like in our, in our grade books, and Anyway, we have a bunch of questions for our superintendent about it, but I was
Right.
hoping, like in this program, that we'll just, have good ideas about how to write in those.
Yeah, and I will, my goal is to bring in experts. Actually, I was hoping that, ah, gar- I can't remember, Jeannie Chips. I thought she would be here at the meeting. She did sign up, and because she is an expert. So I'd like to have a couple people. Well, and in the monthly plan that I originally put in the email, like the first 3 meetings were going to be on 3D, but I think we might have a strength there. So maybe that's not a super focus, and maybe we can change that to, actually, I think I actually made that a question in the survey too. So what is it you would like to focus on? Because I'm not really the owner of this. You guys are. I just try to keep it going and send you the emails and stuff.
Okay. No, I love the idea of the repository too. I think it's cool. And so we can
Yeah,
help
and-
tailor each other's lessons
And we've
That's
been
great.
trying to do that for forever. I mean, I think when I was hired here, Ashley McGrath was trying to put together a repository, and she was our assessment director at that time. So it just hasn't come to pass. But I think that if we can make it interactive where teachers can use it and comment, I think that would be actually much more helpful than just dumping a lesson in there. And then depending on how those come out, we can just pick which ones we can link directly to standards through Satchel.
Right. I have an IEFA lesson that I've been working on, but it's been like 3 years and I haven't I still do it, but it's not well tailored to send to anyone else. It's like a idea
Right.
on paper and I talk the students through it, right? So I would love to see like some of those things come to fruition and get them finalized and make them usable for other teachers. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I remember when I was teaching, I was always frustrated because it was the time factor, right? But then I would commit to things like this, but none of them built my classroom up. So I'm hoping that that's what we can accomplish for everybody. And I think we have classroom grade levels across the board in this group. So,
Okay, thank you.
good. Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for your patience and staying late. Thank you, Linda, very much.
You're welcome. This was really fun.
It was fun.
And I'm
Like
interested in
deja vu.
the proficiency-based grading.